What up, cooks? It's your boy the hater up in this pace. And I want to do a video that talks about how wrestling, mostly WWE, but AEW is kind of doing this by extension, I suppose. How wrestling seems to go after the same type of garbage that didn't work in the past. Now, from the individualistic perspective, I realize, obviously, I'm not stupid motherfucks, that Kenta is different than Yoshitatsu, right? I understand that Kalisto is presumably different than Sin Cara, right? But that's not my concern. My concern is that Sin Cara and Kalisto and Kenta and Yoshitatsu fill the same role. So with all that being said, the question becomes, of course, why do they keep going after the same shit? Now, if wrestling was this difficult thing to do, then it would make sense, right? If you had some standout, some talented person, right, that can do things that no one's ever seen, like, for example, Rey Mysterio in the late 90s, right? And, even early 2000s when he was doing things that no one had ever seen before, right? These things would make you go and think to yourself and, guide your company towards the idea that we should sign this guy because he is one of one, right? He's exceptional, so we have to sign him, right? You have a Kurt Angle, you're like, oh, there's only one Olympic gold medalist that's available to be signed, that won a gold medal in wrestling, so we're going to go after him because of that. Oh, Mark Henry, he's legit the world's strongest man, we should go after him, right? These are once-in-a-lifetime talents, right? It just so happened, of course, that Kurt Angle and Mark Henry both turned out to also be charismatic, at least to certain degrees. Kurt Angle, like a 10 out of 10 in charisma, and Mark Henry largely was boring, but then, he came into his own later on. Like, he did what he understood the business, if you will, right? And even Rey Mysterio, it's really like a fucked up coincidence. Rey Mysterio is the best luchador in the ring, and he's also the best luchador ever on the mic, right? So it's like these things come together a lot of times, right? So those signings make perfect sense. Brock Lesnar, Mark Henry, people that are like, oh my God, this is like a once-in-a-lifetime type of guy. But the problem then turned into something else, right? Instead of finding once-in-a-lifetime guys, WWE and other companies instead found a dime a dozen guys and pretended they were a once-in-a-lifetime talent, right? They understood that just like the sports component of wrestling is fake, the allure can also be fake, right? It's like they don't have to give you something that makes you think, wow, that's the next Rey Mysterio. They can give you something that makes you think, wow, that's the next jobber, but then they just tell you, that's the next Rey Mysterio, right? And this is an interesting little tidbit that WWE has been experimenting with, right? It's like they'll present to you, like, Adam Cole, and they'll tell you, oh, this guy's the next Shawn Michaels, right? And then you watch it and you're like, no, I don't think he is. You know what I'm saying? I don't really see what Michael Cole or Wade Barrett or whoever the fuck it is in NXT is telling me. I just don't agree, right? But they keep telling you, they're like, oh, this is the new Shawn Michaels. And then all of a sudden, it turns out that Adam Cole, just like Dolph Ziggler, didn't become the next Shawn Michaels. Wow, mind blown, right? Now, because the dumbass wrestling fan has for many years been conditioned to think that Dolph Ziggler was supposed to be the next Shawn Michaels, when he doesn't become the next Shawn Michaels, people automatically start thinking, wow, they really dropped the ball with Dolph Ziggler. No, morons. You're just stupid. You're a mark. You've been taken along for the ride, and you're still on the ride. You still haven't gotten off. You know, like when you go to Six Flags, the ride ends, the little announcer guy says, please exit to the left of the ride. There's always one person who's like, damn, what do I do? I don't know what to do. Like, you're that person, you know what I'm saying? You don't realize that the experiment failed, but it yielded the intended results. They thought to themselves, okay, this Dolph Ziggler guy will never be able to command Shawn Michaels' money, right? Because he's Dolph Ziggler. He's a dime a dozen. I can replace him tomorrow, right? Like, if Kevin Owens decides tomorrow to be like, I want to get paid as much as Roman Reigns, they're going to be like, oh, here's a counter offer. Go fuck your mother. And now we're going to push Odyssey Jones because he can do everything you can do because you can't do anything, right? That's the difference, motherfucks. That's the difference. And that's what's been happening for years now, right? It didn't work out with fucking Adam Cole. Now they're like, oh, Johnny Gargano really reminds me of HBK. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. If you're not a liar, he doesn't remind you at all of HBK, right? Oh, I think Humberto Carrillo, he really reminds me of Eddie Guerrero. No, he doesn't, right? If he did, you wouldn't have to say it, right? Like, you wouldn't have to say it if it was true. You'd be like, wow, this guy's great. The most recent example of this that I see personally is now there's this new movement, right? People that keep saying like Trick Williams reminds me a lot of Booker T. No, he doesn't. You're probably a racist. Let's call it like it is, motherfucks. Just because he's black, he reminds you of Booker T. No, there's nothing. They have nothing in common. Booker T, number one, is 100 times more charismatic. Trick Williams seems to be confused. Like every time I see him, he cuts a promo. It's boring. You know what I'm saying? Even when he was with Carmelo. Now, when he was Carmelo's right hand, that's a good role for him because he's not this super charismatic guy. Neither is Carmelo, if we're being honest, right? Neither are a lot of the people that people keep saying are charismatic. The same way they told me that Dolph Ziggler was charismatic, they tell me that Montez Ford oozes charisma. No, he doesn't. You know what I'm saying? If he did, Triple H or Vince would have seen something in him, but they didn't because he doesn't ooze charisma. He oozes jackass, right? He's a goof, motherfucks. He's a goof, and he'll be treated like a goof. He can surely be the next R-Truth. He's never gonna be the next Rock, right? You know what I'm saying? Like his career trajectory is he can be the next R-Truth. That's what he can be, right? He can be the next goof. He can be the next fucking who was another goof, just like R-Truth. He can be the next Just Joe, if you remember Just Joe, cucks. But what I'm getting at here is this, right? Despite the fact that these wrestlers continuously fail, right? They keep telling us that the next guy is different, right? So let's run through it, right? First, Asuka comes, right? They're like, Asuka. This is like the first Japanese women's wrestler that, WWE actually signed, right? That actually was pushed in any capacity of worth, right? And Asuka has had a great career. She's had a Hall of Fame career at this point, right? But Asuka sucks, right? And she's, in my opinion, she represents the best. She's easily the best Japanese women's wrestler that they've had, right? She might be the best Japanese wrestler they've ever had after Taka Michinoku and Funaki, of course, right? Because she understands her limits, right? She doesn't speak English at all, basically. So she goes there, she just starts screaming like, Asuka, you're not ready for Asuka. And she just like acts crazy, right? So you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of nice, kind of fun, right? Then they're like, all right, here's Io Sky, right? Or Io Shirai. Then she becomes Io Sky, right? And what the fuck was that all about, right? First, she's just like a happy person who's there to support Asuka. Then she starts wearing all black, which I thought was kind of nice, but nothing special. Then she just turns heel, basically. Then she's face again. Then she joins Damage Control, which is a group with no direction whatsoever. What the fuck does Damage Control even mean? But anyways, somewhere in the middle of this circle jerk, they bring in Kairi Sane, right? Kairi Sane is the next big thing. Like everybody knows Kairi Sane is going to be a huge star one day, right? And then it turns out Kairi Sane doesn't do anything. Kairi Sane is just like, she's like a retard who thinks she's a pirate. Okay, so that's never going to work. It's never going to get over. So it doesn't get over. It fails miserably. They fire her, they bring her back. And now, every neckbeard is foaming at the mouth over this new wrestler named Julia. I ran across a clip today where Julia, who is half Japanese, and as the name would suggest, half Italian, right? She's doing a promo in English, right? She's reading some cue cards in English to put over, like, whatever, Stardom on on Wrestle Kingdom weekend or whatever, right? And she's like, come watch Stardom, right? And then people are like, wow, her English is so good. Like, yes, her English is better than fucking Hideo Itami, right? But it's not good, right? She can never be trusted to cut a promo in English, right? You can never trust her to do that because it's going to sound like shit and people are going to be scratching their balls thinking, what the fuck's this girl saying, right? So any designs that people have, that the neckbeard community, the neckbeard demographic has, that Julia is somehow going to be the next big thing is insane. She's going to be another Kairi Sane. And quite frankly, we don't need a fourth Japanese female wrestler, right? Considering that all the other ones are so indistinguishable that they're not part of one group, right? They're part of one group. The group has no direction whatsoever. It's a complete waste of time, right? So there you have it. On the men's side of things, right? We've seen this all the time. Every luchador, every Samoan, and every Japanese wrestler is somehow supposed to be the next big thing. Sin Cara is the next Rey Mysterio. Kalisto is the next Rey Mysterio. Grand Metalik is the next Rey Mysterio. Lince Dorado is the next Rey Mysterio. And then all of a sudden people are like, I can't believe they're holding down Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado and the other guy. They deserve so much more than being part of a Lucha House Party. the fuck are you talking about? They're lucky to even be part of that, right? And now we have Lucha House Party 2.0, aka the new bloodline, right? It's basically Lucha House Party. It's just these three jobbers with no direction whatsoever. They're just there, right? At least Lucha House Party had like a silly gimmick, right? But anyways, the point is, it's not gonna work out any differently for the next luchador. Why would it, right? Unless the next luchador does something insane, right? Now, another one people are excited on, Jacob Fatu. I can tell you right now, Jacob Fatu has Rosie written all over him. Rosie could also do a split-legged moonsault, right? Which is essentially the same thing as the little Aztec moonsault that Jacob Fatu does. Rosie could do that too. Was anyone clamoring for Rosie to become the world champion? Fucking get back to reality, motherfuckers. Let's get serious about this. Jacob Fatu is also a fat Samoan, right? We have like 4 of them. We don't need a 5th fat Samoan, right? What is he going to bring to the table, motherfuckers? What is he going to bring to the table, right? That's why when I compare Gunther to Kozlov, or Trick Williams to literally any bigger wrestler that's never going to do anything, right? Like Trick Williams, to me, like I don't see how his career is going to be any different than like Briggs and Jensen. Like, I don't see why he'd be better than those guys. He's not better in the ring than them. His finishing move literally is he jumps in the air and sometimes his knee touches the opponent at some other part of the body. It's not this like discrete move. It's not like a knee to the head or a knee to anything. It's just like he just jumps and he like his knee's up somewhere and like here's how you know. Him and Ilya Dragunov, they both ran into each other, right? And nobody knew whose finisher actually connected until Ilya Dragunov was able to pin him, right? You know what I mean? Like he's not a good wrestler. Trick Williams is never going to be the star that people think he is, right? Jacob Fatu is never going to be the star that they think he is, right? In order to be a star, you have to have certain attributes, right? At minimum, right? Like if you want to be like, there's 2 categories of star. There's like the fake star, like Seth Rollins, right? He's not a real star, right? Seth Rollins is a mid-carder. He's not a top name, right? If Seth Rollins retires tomorrow, no one's going to give a flying fuck. You know what I'm saying? All you got to do is get Nathan Frazier and be like, here, you're in the Seth Rollins spot now. He can do everything that Seth Rollins can do. And literally everything, right? There's nothing that Seth Rollins can do that Mustafa Ali can't do, right? Seth Rollins is not a great promo, right? In the ring, he's obviously good in the ring, but so is everybody else, right? Everybody in the WWE is good in the ring, motherfuckers, except for like all these jobbers, of course. But the point being that anyone can do it. Nothing's gonna, like, the needle's not gonna move if Seth Rollins quits tomorrow. Nobody gives a fuck. Just like if Seth Rollins goes to AEW, they're not gonna get any new viewers, right? That's the problem with wrestling. It's, you can be Seth Rollins or Dean Ambrose, or you can be Roman Reigns, who actually is a star, right? To be a star, you have to have many different attributes that I've mentioned. And thus far, none of the people that we're talking about have any of these attributes, right? Julia doesn't have these attributes from what I can tell, right? She's gonna be another, like, she could be great. Anything's possible. But in my opinion, she's going to end up being another member of Damage Control because that's pretty much her cap, right? Just like the cap for the next luchador is going to be the next Kalisto, right? No one's going to give a flying fuck, right? The cap for Jacob Fatu is Rosie, right? Because he's just another Rosie. I don't care if you pretend that he's better than Rosie is. I don't see why he's better. You can't articulate it to me as usual, motherfuckers. Gunther, same thing. Gunther has Kozlov written all over him, except he's never going to reach the heights of Kozlov. He's never going to beat Undertaker clean, you know what I'm saying? So that's the problem, right? Trick Williams is not Booker T. He's going to be just another, like basically another big boss man, except he's never going to be in Hell in a Cell against Undertaker, right? He's going to be like, at most, Trick Williams, at most, right? He's going to be like a Cesaro, right? That's the cap. Like, there's no way Trick Williams is surpassing Cesaro, right? Like, he could be Cesaro, which is a nice, respectable career. Nothing wrong with that. But none of these guys are going to be the next big thing. And WWE should be aiming to get the next big thing. That's all I'm saying, motherfuckers. You got to go for the next big thing. You can't go for the 19th version of the thing that led to nowhere, right? They're like, oh, Rosie didn't work out. Umaga didn't work out, but it's okay. We can pretend that Umaga was a legend, right? Rikishi didn't work out. Well, we can pretend that he was a legend. Like, if anyone actually watched wrestling in the Attitude Era, Rikishi was a lower mid-carder, right? He had like a push against Stone Cold, but basically, like, they determined during the push that he's such a jobber. He's so bad on the mic, and he doesn't really have any other attributes. He has short little T-Rex arms, right? They're like, it's not believable that he could beat up Stone Cold. So they quickly pivoted, and the feud became Stone Cold Triple H again, right? And Rikishi started feuding with like Taz. You know what I mean? Like, he started feuding with Val Venus, right? He was a mid-card jobber, right? That's what he was. He was never a main eventer. You know what I mean? And Umaga, I mean, I personally liked Umaga. I really liked him as Jamal in 3-Minute Warning. I really enjoyed that. And Umaga was interesting, but I remember when he debuted, I'm like, what? This is the monster? Because it's like they had him like, they were building him as a super heavyweight. Like it's like they'd have him, and like they would literally put Umaga out there and have it seem as if like he's a threat to Lashley, right? And you look at them next to each other and you're like, how is Umaga a threat to Lashley? Lashley is about a foot taller looking, right? Lashley is like 60 pounds more of muscle. Lashley is clearly more athletic, but Umaga yells and, flips his hair. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Umaga's a threat to Lashley. Like, everyone watching was like, what is this? What kind of a joke is this? It's like he would look at it and be like, if Lashley wanted to, he would just flatten this fat bastard immediately. And I said, I like Umaga. Rest in peace, motherfucker. But the truth is this: Umaga was a jobber. He was not a main eventer in any capacity, right? Umaga was never a main eventer, and now they've retconned it. They make it seem as if Umaga was this legend. He was not a legend. He achieved nothing. I think he won the Intercontinental title once, and then that's it. Like, that's all he did. He won the IC title once. He's like on the same level as Santino Marella. As a matter of fact, Santino Marella beat his ass, right? So there you have it, Cucks. All I got to say about this is this. Go after wrestlers that are good, right? And bring something new to the table, right? You want an example? How about Velveteen Dream? That's a great example, right? Like, since people talk about NXT a lot, compare Velveteen Dream to any of the top NXT guys. Like Ilya Dragunov, like obviously Velveteen Dream is better. Trick Williams, obviously Velveteen Dream is better in every way, right? He's obviously better in every way. Like, he's better in the ring than Trick Williams and Ilya Dragunov. He's more charismatic by 100 times. He's more aesthetically pleasing, right? He has a gimmick. He's better in every way, right? And he didn't make it, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Ilya Dragunov and fucking Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes are going to be the saviors from NXT. These guys have Tahuti Miles written all over them, motherfucks, aka Ashanti the Adonis. Get wrecked, motherfucks.